Jota Zeta and Fortibus watching Cinderella.
Hello.
And welcome to the
First ever
episode of
If the Shoe Fits.
I think we'll just call it Cinderella Reviews. But really, this show is all about our hunt for the perfect Cinderella film, or for the best Cinderella film.
And for a little context, Jota Zeta believes that Cinderella is not a worthwhile princess to be having so many movies about.
That is true. I wouldn't phrase it like that, but that is true. We
Yeah.
talked about the live-action Cinderella Disney remake, and I mentioned how much I had a disdain for it. I was like, ugh, this is boring, this is awful, and then I made the comment, I don't think that you could make a good Cinderella movie.
And I completely disagreed because the live-action Cinderella is an excellent movie, and there's so many good Cinderella movies, like Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time.
That leaves us to our goal to find the best and the worst Cinderella movies out there by watching every Cinderella movie that we can find, and then rating it and reviewing it.
But my goal is to get him to appreciate Cinderella.
Yes, this is all under the guise of Fortibus teaching me to appreciate Cinderella of all people.
A true blue princess. For this first installment, we established the baseline.
We had to start somewhere, and so where better to start than...
The 1950 Cinderella.
And we just sat down, we watched it. It was shorter than it was actually, the length was really good.
It was great. It wasn't 3 hours, but it was an hour and 15 minutes.
Thank goodness for that. Wait, an hour and 15?
Yeah.
So it's only like a 75-minute movie?
75 minutes. That's all you need.
It really is. And for 75 minutes, that had a lot of filler.
Would agree.
Its focus was way different than I was expecting. And also, to my surprise, I was laughing. I was having a very good time.
You were laughing quite a bit.
I was.
And it was different than I remember because I remember Cinderella being the main character of this movie. And I think the main character is Jacques and Gus Gus.
I think Cinderella's the central character. But you're right. I think you're right. I think Jacques and Gus, mainly Jacques, really. Gus is there, but he's also...
Gus Gus is there for the comedy.
But because Jacques there for the comedy. But no, Jacques there for the... If I was to be wax poetic and call this some sort of art, I would say that Jacques represents the fierce determination of Cinderella.
Well, if we're going into art form territory, I would even say it's interesting that Cinderella, who's oft overlooked in her own life, is not even the main character of her own story.
But I also think I make the joke because I think that Jacques was just added because it's a mouse. Mouses are cute. It is odd that she's not in focus, but I think that's also the point.
Yeah.
It's really exploring Cinderella from the outer view. It's kind of like you're watching the story unfold, like a storybook.
Like a movie?
Well, no, not like a movie. Like a movie has a central character. When you follow the character, like you follow the character, and you see them go through an arc. Cinderella doesn't have an arc. She doesn't learn anything. She doesn't grow. She gets what she wants because she always did the right thing.
I would disagree that Cinderella, quote unquote, does not grow. In the beginning of the movie, she tells the dog, Bruno, that he has to give up on his dreams and he just has to live with something horrible, the cat, Lucifer. And I think it's argued at the beginning of the movie, Cinderella fully believes that you just give up on your dreams, you make the most of it, life just happens. But then when she finds out that the prince wants to marry her, she is like fighting for her dreams. And we call that growth.
First, false.
What do you mean?
So as soon as there is a ball happening, she's like, oh, I want to go. She immediately puts her dreams right into practice. If anything, she's a little bit of a hypocrite telling the dog. That's not what the scene's about, though. The scene, when she tells the dog that, this is the masterful part. This is the artful part. Because, it's clever because she's telling the dog these things because she can't just tell herself these things. And she can't narrate and say, and as I, Cinderella, did this, I really told myself not to believe in my own dream. It was narrating without narrating. Something that the new live-action Cinderella does terribly, by the way.
Okay, we can't compare it. We haven't watched it yet, and the last time you watched that movie was 8 years ago.
But yeah, it was doing something. It was doing clever things, narration without narration. And then during that scene, and then after the narration was done and over, there was a good 3 or 4 minute scene with Jacques, Gus, and Lucifer the cat to just break up the monotony. And it's very simple slapstick. It's nothing like, ooh. I still have to look up, did Tom and Jerry come out after this or before this? Because I think one inspired the other, but this was very basic Tom and Jerry stuff, like biting the tail, going through one hole, going out the other, putting the hat on the end of the tail. Very simple slapstick stuff. And they did a good job.
I would say, and I would also say that you're onto something, where it was very interesting in this movie that the main story of Cinderella was just like very subtle and very in the background. Like as we were watching it, we were thinking like, oh, this is kind of fun for the adults because it's not outlining the story of Cinderella. You have to pay attention to the facts that Cinderella isn't happy, that she feels like she's being ordered around, and then the kids can focus on the Tom and Jerry.
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about the plot. Fortibus, just tell us the plot of the movie. Take us through the plot. What happens?
We're all unhappy. Mice and birds for friends. Evil stepmother and stepsisters. Does a lot of chores.
It's not really a plot. You're just kind of saying that's
I'm chat GPTing the plot.
Chat GPT can float sentences better than that.
I am being concise.
All right, it's on me. Cinderella wakes up to birds singing at her because they want to wake her up.
Before 6 a.m.
Because that's when the bell that wakes up the whole town chimes, and it does chime. But the birds wake her up because they want to hear her sing or something.
They want to hear about her dream.
Is that it? Is that what they said?
She sings a song about the dreams.
Which is an integral plot. A theme of the whole movie is dreams. I was just like, ugh, this is gonna be but it's not really that basic. I think it dives into the whole thing throughout. But yeah, she starts out her day. You get to see her morning routine. Like it does the beginning narration, like it shows like a storybook thing of like what happened. Like she had a dad. She married evil lady. Then he died.
The dad married the evil lady. She did not.
Oh yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, so like the dad marries the evil lady. Then he dies. It's all very, very quick. You get to see Lady. You don't get to see her that often, but every scene that Cinderella's stepmom's in, she's very cruel. She's not really dove into. But anyway, so you see Cinderella's morning routine, and then you get to see You don't even get to see the stepsisters that morning. I think you do for like a little bit.
You hear about them when they yell.
But then like Jacques does stuff. They meet Gus because Gus is new that day.
And we learn that Cinderella puts clothes on the birds and the rats.
That's right. That is a very interesting plot point, which sets up both the mice's sewing and the fact that she also sews and has dress skills. Everything is set up.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like they only had 75 minutes, and they do a lot of storytelling by showing.
Or they just thought about it.
Or I don't have a better comeback.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Either way, it was planned and it was very deliberate, and I think it was good. But yeah, so then you get to see Lady Tremaine, and she's like, meh, 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 meh. And like every time it gets like, and her like when you first enter her room, and it's all like she's like behind this veil of black. It's like then like you get closer, then it lights up, and then you get to actually see her face because it was like she's like in shadows, and then like it opens up, and she's like, Cinderella, you need to do the thing, and you need to do that, and you need to do the tapestries. But I just did do them again. She talks like softly until she's forceful. You don't really get to hear her backstory, her motivations, or anything like that because it's not about her. It's about the fairy tale. That's where it all comes in. And the fairy tale is very short, and I think they think that kids would be bored, so they entered in a lot of mice stuff. To be fair, kind of true. The plot of it is like, oh, they find out, it cuts over to the king, who is a breakout character. I'm surprised we don't see more of him.
I absolutely love the king. I do not remember him being that funny.
And then the prime minister, complete cartoon characters. They're complete, almost Looney Tune-ish type people. Oh, my son needs to get a date. Oh, but what about this? We didn't have a ball when he gets home. Okay, I can organize a ball. No, tonight. And I want grandkids. And I want grandkids, and if things go wrong, you'll die. He's serious about it, but he's also whimsical. It's in that very, very 50s, 40s, 60s style of animation of everything's happily and bubbly, but there's serious consequences. So the ball thing happens. Then Cinderella gets the letter.
Basically, they are having the ball that night because the prince is coming home from some journey that we don't get to talk about. They get the letter by royal decree. All the women are invited to the ball. Cinderella is like, oh yay, I'm a woman. I'm eligible. I get to go. And Lady Tremaine is only if you finish all these chores and you find a dress that's suitable. So while she does the chores, the mice sew her pink dress together. That was her mom's.
Which it was her mom's dress. So they do mention her mom. That's the only time they mention her mom. They talk about updating the dress because it's old and she wants to, but she doesn't have time. And so the mice do sew it in the famous Cinderella song, which is only like
2 seconds.
Yeah, it's not as much as a musical as these new Disney films are. It's very much like there's music and then it pauses for dialogue for long periods of time, and then it goes a musical refrain. Like you didn't have to write a song, I guess.
Yeah, only just a couple hooks and some lines. So anyways, Lady Tremaine's goal is to make Cinderella Cinderella so busy that she cannot be ready for the ball. But psychs on her, Cinderella comes down in this beautiful pink dress.
Which the mice got pieces, since they were fixing it up, they got pieces from stealing it under Lucifer's nose. This is the second Lucifer encounter. And the second one is them stealing pearls and the sash that was thrown out by the stepsisters. And then they have to get it. And they do some very cartoonish stuff, like the beads break. They gather the beads, they put them on the mice's tails, because the mouse's tails are like super thin. They look like a scribble. And
Lady Tremaine is like, oh crap. And the stepsisters are like, oh crap, Mom, you can't let her come. Lady Tremaine points out that Cinderella's dress is made with these scraps. So the stepsisters go on and they go, oh, those are my pearls. This is my sash. This is my this. And they legitimately tear her dress to pieces.
And what they did, I didn't notice this before, as the scene like gets more and more intense, the background changes and it goes redder and redder and redder and redder, and it's cutting. It's like a quick cut, like a quick rip cut, and at each cut it gets redder and redder to show the emotion. I've seen that in other movies and other review shows of movies I've seen. I haven't seen those movies. I've just seen the reviews of them, but I've seen that happen in those early days where everything is cast in red to kind of show to emphasize the rage or the horror or the otherworldliness, and it kind of is. That's like a shattering point for her, because up until that point, man, this Cinderella also has an attitude with her a little bit.
Yeah, she's kind of like anytime, like when the bell rings, she goes, oh, okay, I hear you. It's time to get going. It's time to get up. And she's nice and she's polite, but she's annoyed.
Yeah, she always talks with the pleasant voice and everything. I liked how they had bells that went all the way down to the basement that they could all ring, and they were still shouting, and you could hear the Cinderella, Cinderella.
And what I liked about Cinderella is she's trying to keep a positive attitude throughout this whole thing, but she goes, okay, I'm coming, chill.
That's something else I wanted to point out about Lady Tremaine.
Lady Tremaine is so interesting because there's only a couple of characters that have personality, like a strong personality. Lady Tremaine, the king, the mice, and possibly Lucifer, the cat.
Lucifer, no, he does have a personality. He takes actions based off of him just being a jerk.
Anything he can do to make Cinderella's life worse, he does. But what I love about Lady Tremaine is I would argue that she's the only character throughout the whole movie who doesn't really verbally express her opinion. It's all within the animation. For example, you already talked about when she was being woken up, she's enshrouded by darkness and you only see her evil eyes. And she's in dark colors the whole time. And every time it pans to her, she always has an expression of her evil eyes and an evil face. It's not like she's actively saying, Cinderella, you're horrible. Cinderella, you're ugly. Cinderella, you're this. It's very just subtle and situational.
I was gonna say it's a very Mean Girls-like vibe.
Mean Girls?
No.
On Wednesdays we wear pink, Mean Girls?
I guess it's how I've seen, and maybe this is sexist, we cut this.
Warning, disclaimer.
It's like how girls can be mean to each other while being kind and politely uplifting. When she ripped up the dress, she didn't say, like, when she pointed it out, she didn't point it out and say, isn't that yours? She looked and said, what a lovely necklace, don't you think? Drizella, which is an awful name.
Whose necklace it was. Like, she is so regal evil. Like, evil. She is. But she is, and I think, like, that was really impressive how much they just showed her being evil. You know, she wasn't really gimmicky.
No, she was the manipulator in the movie. And I think that's what they showed really well. Because, like, how did Cinderella get in this position? You don't really need to know, because she had kind of it seemed like she could pull the strings. And she gets more and more directly involved against Cinderella as the plot goes on. Because at first she's in bed, just do all your chores. And then she like closes the door when they get the letter. Then she points out that, and then she closes the door with a smile that time. She's the one that figures out that, like, she looks familiar. She gets kind of the idea. And once she even has an inkling that Cinderella is the Cinderella, she just goes and locks her in with no words, no nothing.
And she doesn't even know for sure that Cinderella is that woman. And it's so interesting because, like, when she locks the door, she walks into the room, makes eye contact with Cinderella through the mirror, and there's this silent communication where Cinderella knows that her life is over and she's never getting the chance to meet the prince. And she just locks it and leaves.
And her eyes are even yellow in that scene.
She's this evil snake.
And if you're looking, wow, I want to know more about this, that's it.
it.
That's all you get.
There's 2 more scenes after that where I think is really important. When the Duke comes and the sisters are trying on the shoe, Lady Tremaine is watching them. She knows it's not gonna work, but she's just watching them, and she goes in her pocket and she grips the key.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
She grips it like it's like her power.
And then once she does grip it, then she pats it. Because in that, she's secure.
She's secure and she's safe. It's so interesting because I feel like, I know we haven't watched any yet, but in other Cinderella movies, Lady Tremaine always has a motivation, a reason why she doesn't like Cinderella. But in this movie, there isn't one.
And I think that's going with the vibe that they're going for. Because this really is like reading a fairy tale where you're like, ooh, I want to know more, and it doesn't give you anything. The only thing that this film added was the mice and the songs and the spectacle. It's hard to call it spectacle.
The gimmicks, the fun.
I was going to say like the art style, like you get to see the carriage right across, because it was made in the 50s. That would have been amazing.
That's true.
The reflection in the water.
Yeah, and when Cinderella's cleaning, the bubble scene of her reflection in the bubbles, like that's very beautiful.
With a Nightingale song. Again, them showing off like, look at all the cool stuff you can do with animation. Great for the 50s. It's no Hulk versus Iron Man fight, which is all in CG, but I mean it's pretty good animation for the day.
Honestly, we were really impressed even when the movie started and just looking at the storybook.
Oh yeah, we think it was touched up.
It had to be. There was a whole thing. I remember there was some Instagram post about it once.
Yeah, but it looked really good. I wouldn't be surprised if they reanimated just the book part and then opening up. Well, because once you got into the scenes, yeah, the colors were just brighter and more vibrant. And I couldn't tell you whether that was a good thing for the film or the bad thing for the film, because some films look better when it has that grungy feel. Things look different when you scale them up and you give them high graphics.
I actually like that they touched up the colors, because something that we noted and we've mentioned already is that this movie is a lot more gimmicky, fun fights than I remember it being for the children, because you have the mice and Lucifer, but then you have the king and the duke, who are hilarious. I would love to get your initial thought on their scenes together.
I enjoyed watching them. The king was like, he talked really, I think the thing is that animation in the era when people were talking, they talked quick and they talked over each other, and they were like there's like no time for the dialogue to breathe. It just goes quick. And the voice recording, it just sounds clearer than like, so their stuff is, it all sounds kind of scuffed and kind of samey, but the dynamic that they had was really, really good. The Duke had an arc. He's a loyal servant of an eccentric, selfish,
impulsive,
appetite-driven king.
Love this king. Best part of the movie.
It's wholesome because all he wants is grandchildren. So the Duke starts that way, and then he just doesn't believe that there's like the prince, like, oh, the prince can do whatever he wants, but the king is proven right. And then out of nowhere, he's like, you better make sure that he proposes that girl, otherwise,
like, you will die.
And then he just runs off happy. He's like, oh, my son's gonna get married.
So easily.
The Duke's just like, his monocle breaks in that scene, a progressive break, which is very interesting. And then he covers it up, and then he tries the thing. But then when the prince is then trying to find Cinderella, it's the Duke that has to go do it all throughout the night, which is, it's the plot point later to help extend everything. But then he also has a scene where he has to tell the king that, and he first tells it to the king, and then
the princess got away, but don't worry, the prince is in love with her.
But then it zooms out, and it turns out he was talking to an empty chair practicing before he went into the bedroom.
Because the king is gonna kill him.
You think, okay, that's just a funny bit, and then you walk in, and the king is really, really small, and he's on this comically sized bed, and he does eventually, he's just like, oh, so he's proposed, doesn't listen to him, he finally says she got away, and then he picks up a sword, and he starts to try to swing at him to try to kill him.
The king is literally trying to kill him, and he's accusing the Duke. This was a trap. You set it all up. It wasn't gonna work.
And they start jumping on the bed, and they're going like up and down. Again, cartoon. One of the funniest things he said was he's jumping up and he's like, "This was a plot
against me. Let me throw on this ball, knowing my son was not gonna get married."
It wasn't even that much. He was just kind of throwing all sorts of accusations out. He was betrayed. It was this or that, and he's just like, no, but he still wants to get married, and he's just like,
oh, that's great. It's a miracle that kingdom is politically okay.
The king and the Duke are cartoons because the real heart of the story, they don't mess with Lady Tremaine, they don't mess with Cinderella, and they don't mess with the prince.
The prince only has 2 lines in this whole movie. He sings the song and he goes, "Wait, where are you going?
How will I find you?"
He doesn't even say yes at his own wedding.
Bro got ghosted.
Hashtag Justice for Prince Charming. I think that's something that we're gonna look for in future movies. If one, does Prince Charming have a personality?
Well, let's get to Prince Charming. Yes, he doesn't have a personality. I completely agree. He is a stand-in, but let's talk about that because she runs into the back in a pretty coolly animated scene. Like she runs into the dark, the door opens and everything's lit instantly, which I thought that was really, really cool. Contrasting how she's running into her darkness and her depression, and she runs through by the windows, and then she does a dainty little run.
Very dainty.
And then she lands on the stone bench in a weird way.
It's a dramatic princess fall. It happens in so many Disney princess movies. I don't remember if this is in the original story or not, but I believe like she collapses in full dramatic fashion underneath a big willow tree. And I believe in the original book, her mom was buried and then they planted a willow tree on top of it. So I think what it was trying to say is she's so upset and she was running to her mother's grave, looking for comfort, crying alone in the dark, and what happens?
There's a lot of sparkles on the screen, which are not in line with the same animation style, but it makes it look more magical. She's laying on the bench, her arms are folded, her head's down on them, her arms are on the bench.
On the bench.
And then the fairy godmother appears, and now she's crying on the fairy godmother's lap. It's one of those things that you can get away with in animation, but if you think about it, like how would it? Because you can't just physically apparate and then like your arms still be in the same position. Because the bench didn't move, her arms didn't move, but now there's a fairy godmother in between.
One would call that magic. We call it illogical.
1950s animators, we found a little plot hole in your movie, and we request that it be addressed.
Be better. Bibbidi bobbidi boo happens.
Which is great. The fairy godmother I think is iconic because she's playing it. She cares about Cinderella, but she's there to do a job, and she's whimsical. It's not whimsical. She's
a little ditzy,
absent-minded.
She's a lot of fun.
It is kind of interesting how she kind of doesn't ask any animals to do anything. She just says, "I need them," and then she transforms them.
And the mice even hide from her.
Gus especially like runs all the way. He's just like, "Oh no, I don't want to do it."
Gus is scared.
He's terrified.
He's scared, but then he gets to turn into a pretty white horse.
And he's okay with it. And then the horse who wanted to be a horse
is now a man
and turns into the carriage driver, which is odd. Then the dog,
whose name is Bruno.
More on Bruno later. But the pumpkin turns into the thing. It took a long time for that pumpkin to turn into the carriage.
Once again, some of the scenes took a little longer than they should. Other ones were a little too short. And then it occurred to us, oh, this is Disney's big look at my animation movie. So the pumpkin turning into a carriage, like the pumpkin, quite well done. A little odd.
And it was still good to see. And also the fairy godmother doesn't look at Cinderella at all while she's doing everything else. Because she's about to leave before Cinderella's like, "Oh, but I can't go like this." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sure you look fine." "Oh,
you look horrible."
And then she gives her the dress and everything like that. And then she sends her on her way. And then she's just gone. She's out of there.
And then Cinderella we have this beautiful scene of the carriage going through the kingdom. We get to see the ball. And at the ball, the prince is low-key bored and yawns, making eyes with his dad, going, "I'm so bored."
And that's the only bit of personality we really get to see from the prince.
The king is getting so frustrated with the duke. The duke is like, "We knew this was gonna be a failure. What would be really magical is if a woman walked in." Cue Cinderella walking in. And she caught his attention. He catches her attention.
He sees Cinderella across the way. She's on like a balcony. There's some starlight. It's whimsical. It's magical.
And he sees her. It's love at first sight. He goes to her and they dance.
Perfect narration, but it wasn't him it was another one of those fake narrations that they did at the beginning with Cinderella and her day. They gave it to the Duke. Eyes are closed and he's just like, "Ooh this, ooh that," as the king animates as he's seeing the whole thing because he's getting all excited that he's gonna get grandkids.
What I love about the Duke is the Duke goes, "Oh yes, but that'll never happen," as it's happened. And the king is like, "Look, you fool, it's happening." Which I think is a great way to say, like, hey, just in case you forgot, this is a fairy tale, and the fairy tale situation happened. But now let's talk about the king. What is the king's main motivation in this movie?
It's to have grandkids. So it's trying to get his son married and with kids.
He wants grandkids. And what is so incredible later is when the Duke is saying, "Don't worry, king. Don't worry that she ran away. We have this glass slipper." The Duke goes, "But it could fit multiple women, so I don't know how we're going to find the woman." And the king goes,
"That's his problem."
"Well, The prince and her dance.
Oh yeah.
And they sing So This Is Love. When they first get to the main ballroom, the background is painted.
Yeah.
And so it's only them on the dance floor, which Jota Zeta thought was weird, but I thought it was actually quite beautiful because I think it's supposed to represent that they feel like they are the only ones in the room.
I will have it noted that I saw that. That was a thought that occurred to me.
Liar.
I was just making a joke.
Lies.
It's also cheaper animation just to animate 2 people rather than animate the whole room.
That is probably truth. Cinderella and the prince are dancing around and they're meant to be like talking, getting to know each other, having this grand old time, and then you just have So This Is Love is playing.
It's not meant to be taken literally. Like they're literally walking and singing and stuff and dancing and singing the whole time. And they do stop dancing to walk around.
And when you watch it, it's not like their mouths aren't moving to the song. It's like a over the head.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like they're singing what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
It's more about the idea of what's happening rather than like what's actually happening.
The idea of love at first sight, the idea that Cinderella is getting more than what she wanted from it. Like when we were watching the movie, we were talking about how it was really interesting how Cinderella just wanted to go to the ball. She didn't want to marry the prince.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Because when the clock strikes, the famous moment, and she's like, "Oh, I have to go,"
and the prince goes, "Why do you have to leave?"
And she's like, "Oh, I have to go. I'm so sorry. I didn't even get to meet the prince." And he's like, "Wait, what? I thought what you."
But it makes sense because Cinderella never went through the line to meet the prince. The prince, she was lost. She's out on the balcony, not knowing where she was.
All the guards, the only people in the movie that didn't when they saw Cinderella were those guards.
I think them being stone-faced and then looking at her was meant to be like, she's so pretty, but I'm a guard, so I won't look at her.
I did not think that. I thought they were just like,
Anyways, but she says she hasn't even met the prince, runs away. And then when she finds out that the prince is looking for the person with the glass slipper, she's literally so shocked that she drops a tray of tea. And suddenly she's like, I danced with the prince? I felt love with the prince?
The prince loves me back because he sent the duke to go find me throughout the whole night. And she's completely lost in her own world.
Well, because she's over the moon, because it's like way more than she could have ever expected. Oh, yeah.
Because like she runs off, she loses the slipper, the classic stuff. But then she rides out and the duke, who's fearing for his own life, sends out the knights.
Who ride like these horses that are black with red eyes.
Yeah, like they're doing all sorts of just like this fearsome dark imagery.
So scary.
The gates trying to close in on them.
I don't know why it's so threatening. I think the idea was it was a nice moment and you're losing the little boys in the audience, so you need to have some action.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is, because the music goes up to like 11. It's any other show where something big and boisterous is about to happen like this. You could play that music over. It reminds me the most of when the dwarves are going and fighting the evil queen, like when the rainstorm and everything like that. An actual action scene. This was her getting into a carriage and then it going for a little while, and then it turning into a pumpkin where she just daintily sits on it.
But it feels very intense.
It does feel very intense.
Yeah, it did a really good job at like creating that urgency. Everything goes back to normal except the glass slipper. The mice point it out to her and she holds the glass slipper and like looks up into the sky, probably like trying to talk to her fairy godmother, and she goes, "Oh, thank you," because now she gets like this memorabilia, this moment of this great night she had, and she's grateful and she's done. And
that's all she's wanted.
Yeah.
She didn't go there to fall in love. She had a nice evening. She met a guy and that's great, but she knew like nothing, there's no future, whatever. It's just for one night, like the fairy godmother said. It's just for a night. And she's like, that's enough. She understands. She takes it and she got to keep a little memento, and that was more than she thought she was going to have. And she's like, that is great.
Thank you. This is exactly what I needed to, because it's interesting because Cinderella's attitude throughout the first half of the movie is like, ugh, oh, they're calling me. Everyone's ordering me around, ordering and stuff, and rightfully so. But at that point, it's like she finally has something that she needed, the glass slipper and that experience to keep her going through like the rest of the hard night. Like she's like, thank you for renewing this hope hope and giving me love, because that's what I needed to keep going. It's the next morning. Lady Tremaine starts waking up Anastasia and Drizella, and she's like, come on, come on, come on. The prince is trying to find the girl who missed the slipper. Cinderella freaks, drops the thing. The stepsisters are like, Cinderella, we have to get dressed, help us. And she goes, oh yes, get dressed. I can't meet the prince looking like a maid.
And she just leaves, and she's all in her head. That's when Lady Tremaine gets the idea, oh, it's her. By the way, that tower is comically large.
Like so many stairs.
You think, oh, they're just gonna skip to her walking up the stairs. No, it skips to her midway up the stairs, shows her climbing more, then skips again to the top.
And at the beginning of the movie, they show Cinderella going down those stairs, and they show her at the top, in the middle, and at the end.
Yeah, it is so far removed. It is comically far.
And so then the rest of the movie, the stepsister's trying on the shoe.
The Duke being exhausted.
Because he's been up all night because he doesn't want to die, which is a good motivator.
Jacques and Gus, they go and they steal the key. And every time that they have to go travel anywhere, they have to go into a mouse hole. This is the last time they don't. And then they are climbing the stairs, and they're going up and up and up. And it transitions to the middle of the stairs. Gus is about to fall over. Like, it transitions. So it goes, and it's just another stair, and Gus is about to fall over because the key's like leaning back on him. And he then cleverly just turns around so the key will fall backwards. Just stumbles backwards into it, and then Jock goes from there, and he goes to the at the top of the stairs, and he's just exhausted. He's like sweating. They slide it under the door, and then they have to go up the entire cast. Like, they have to go up the comically large thing, which I think is the only time they skip to the top.
I think it is as well. But then the final boss fight happens.
That's right.
And who is the final boss? The main villain of the whole movie. The most climactic battle is
Lucifer.
The cat.
I've been trying to fight it, but you were right. This main character of this film is Jacques and Gus. Jacques is trying to make sure that they follow Cinderella. His goal is to just make Cinderella happy. And yeah, sometimes it dives away from focus from Jacques, but it's about that, because the third act is, all right, we have the key. They try to sneak it under, but then Lucifer has a bowl, and he puts it over Gus and the key. Cinderella sees that happening, and she's calling out for Lucifer to stop.
Well, the best part of the movie is that there's a full-on war that happens, because Gus is trapped underneath the bowl, and the other side character mice grab their literal forks and go fight Lucifer, and he's just flipping them all over the place.
So like, I think it starts with Jacques running out and trying to grab him, and then he bites the tail. And every time there's a little bit of a reprieve, like, oh, Gus could get out, like the bowl like starts to fly up, and then every time
Lucifer slams it back down.
And then that's when they come out with the forks.
You're excited because you're like, yeah, stab the cat.
And no, Lucifer goes smack, 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 smacks the front of the fork, and it throws the mice like a catapult.
And he's laughing.
Then he even throws the forks into the wall right above them, like if they almost got skewered.
And we're sitting here like, whoa, this is a lot more intense than we remember.
And they took a candle and they lit it, and it looks like a battering ram with fire on front, and they're just running at it as fast as they can.
So intense. They're like sweating, they're serious, and we're laughing, and I think I even said, oh, they're just set him on fire. Like, of course that's how this battle ends.
The fire gets up to him, and then Lucifer just goes
quick, like a snap, so fast, blows it out.
And when you think, oh, and you get all deflated, then a plate falls on his head.
Out of nowhere, aerial support comes in. Birds from the beginning of the movie just dropping things on him.
Like plates and all this dishware. Where did those come from? Don't know.
I actually never thought to question that.
Because it was very epic. He starts jumping up and he starts swatting them.
And Lucifer's still winning, and you're like, what the heck? But then the true unsung hero of the movie finally gets up, wakes up.
No, he didn't get up on his own.
He didn't.
The birds go down.
That one horse who really wants to be part of the main story, but cannot be part of the main story.
I keep forgetting that the horse is there most of the time. But yeah, he neighs and wakes him up, and the dog looks groggy.
So sleepy.
He gets to the bottom of the stairs, and he's like, it's kind of like he's like waddling up drunk and just like, okay, whatever. And he gets to the top of the stairs, and then
he starts running up the stairs. He knows he knows Cinderella's in trouble.
And then once he sees Lucifer, he comes alive.
He's ready to take on the devil.
He runs at her, and the cat jumps.
And Lucifer is scared, and Gus is finally able to get free, sneaks the key under the door. Cinderella unlocks it.
You forgot to mention that when Lucifer falls, he falls out the window.
Is there emotional point to that?
Yeah.
What?
The emotional point is they killed the cat.
The cat lands on his feet.
He never lands. It cuts away before he lands because they don't want to show it on camera death.
No.
Do you ever see the cat again after that?
No.
Lucifer's dead.
No, Lucifer's not dead.
The cat died. It's okay.
I disagree. As he's falling, he's like positioning himself to land on his feet.
You're right, because he's falling back first the whole way, and you never get to see him turn or do anything else.
No, cats always land on their feet. This is a children's movie. It has a lot of death for a children's movie, but
that's why they don't show him. They show him fall. They don't show the splat. They don't show the splat, but there's no other way out of it.
The cat did not go splat.
You already said that he's the biggest antagonist.
I did.
He needs to be defeated. Anyways.
So the sisters can't put on the slipper. The Duke is being ushered out. And then suddenly Cinderella descends the staircase.
Yep.
Asks if she can try on the slipper. The
Yep.
Duke says yes. Lady Tremaine trips the servant. Last slipper shatters.
Yeah, actually, the first time when Cinderella comes down the stairs, that's the first time you see Lady Tremaine shocked. And then yes, she actively trips it. That's her last trick. The last thing she has up her sleeve.
Her last manipulation. Someone could be like, "You tripped him. You're horrible." It could be played off as an accident.
When it breaks the Duke's heart.
Because he's going to die.
He has I always thought it was like comical. Oh no, oh no, oh no. No, because he's fearing for his life. There's real character motivation.
There's like real consequences.
And then Cinderella's like, oh, I have the other one.
It fits.
And then it goes right into the wedding. You get to see them all happy. You get to see the mice now wearing king clothes, throwing stuff down.
Throwing rice.
Yeah.
As she's running down the steps, she loses her slipper. The king puts it back on. She kisses him on the forehead. And they drive away in the carriage. And the most important thing about that drive away in the carriage is that there's one frame, or a couple frames, where the prince is literally painted on in the background.
It's the one where Cinderella's waving outside. The prince is just painted. And then they have the little kiss moment at the end. Like, he's animated going into it, but then, yeah, she's waving, and it's very obvious. It's just paint.
Overall, this is our baseline movie for this series. I would say this movie was a lot of fun. It had a lot of gimmicks, very Tom and Jerry, very whimsical, very fun. It did talk about dreams. JotaZeta, in a sentence, could you sum up the theme of dreams?
Dreams are the wish a heart makes.
When
you're asleep?
It's fast asleep.
Oh, I guess I didn't pay attention to the one song that they played throughout the entire film. I think it makes sense. She wakes up, she's having a dream. Bruno has a dream. They're parallel. He wants to kill Lucifer. She just wants something.
She just wants happiness.
She wants happiness.
She's dreaming to have happiness.
She got a chance, took a little bit of help from her friends and a literal fairy godmother. But then she got it, and then it turns out because she pursued it, she also got everything else that she didn't know that she wanted or could have. And that's it. We don't even get to know about what happens with the Lady Tremaine or the stepsisters.
Because it's not about.
It's not about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sleek 75 minutes. We're done. We're going.
Overall, the biggest surprise to me is how much Cinderella and the Prince fell in the background of this story. But I thought it was really interesting because you got to learn about a lot of characters. There was a lot of funny moments.
Yeah.
But going in the future, I would be excited to see more of Cinderella and more of Prince Charming's characters in these movies.
See, I wouldn't.
Yes, of course.
If I wanted to see a sequel to this movie, I'd want to see more of the king. And
the king is flawless.
And I would want to see more of Jacques and Gus fighting the son of Lucifer. Because Lucifer died.
No! Lucifer is alive! Cats have 9 lives. Lucifer landed on his feet.
I'm sure in the sequels he's fine and dandy. I'm just saying, original author intent is probably that it's over. I remember it being boring. This was a lot funner than I remember.
More fun.
Was that really it?
Yeah, funner is a word.
Really?
Yeah, that's like a very classic grammar joke.
Huh. Well, this was more fun. It was... If you didn't really like Cinderella, you could enjoy the movie. And I think that's what appealed to me. That's what they were going for. And I think that they crafted something pretty good. If I had to watch this with kids or something like that, I'm like, oh, I want to watch Cinderella. I could put this on and I could enjoy, I could laugh, and I wouldn't have to be like, oh, they're going to be scared of one of the characters in the show. I don't know, Maleficent or King Triton or something.
I don't know. Lady Tremaine with her green eyes in the darkness, she's a little scary.
But that's only like 15 seconds.
The cat is named after the devil. And
you just don't have to explain it. It's Lucy.
And black horses chase her through the night as she's turning back into a pumpkin.
Hey, for a young boy, that's awesome.
No!
we should probably talk about it. As a film, I think it's really good. I think it's classy. I think it's pretty top notch. As a Cinderella film, I think I'm gonna have to dock points from it. It's not, if you didn't know the story of Cinderella, you wouldn't catch like the willow tree. You wouldn't catch like, you'd be like, oh, why are they doing this? Like you'd have way more questions coming out of it. And yeah, it's a fairy tale and it's not all supposed to be explained, but I feel like it's not really implying that. So as far as a Cinderella movie, I think I'm gonna rate it pretty low.
I would totally agree. As it stands on its own, very entertaining, very funny. Adults can pick up the hidden meanings and you can kind of gather what's going on. But as a Cinderella film itself, it's kind of low.
Maybe we can call it average. Less than average. I mean, I don't know. As a Cinderella film, I think it's below average.
I vote we do average since this is our baseline film.
That's true. And this can only go up. Maybe by the time we watch the third or fourth different type of Cinderella movie, we're just like, please stop focusing on these characters.
Or Jota Zeta will say, oh yes, Cinderella is my favorite Disney princess.
We have a long way to go there. Well, that's been our show. This has been our search for the best and the worst Cinderella films have to offer. I've been Jota Zeta.
And I'm Fortibus.
And we can't wait to catch you next time when we review some other Cinderella story, which we haven't picked out yet. But you'll find out because it'll be right there on the YouTubes. Women must not escape.
You better shut your mouth right there.
I know.
That's gonna get you a lot of hate comments.
I know. Edit that out.
Keep it.